Welcome to Too Many Podcasts, the podcast about podcasts. Now, podcasting from the Sherpa Chalet on Mount Podcastia, here's your host, Jim, the podcast Sherpa.
Getting a little cold here on the top of Mount Podcastia as we approach the dead of winter. How you doing, rebels of the Sherpalution? I am so glad that you've come back once again, or if you're a new rebel, welcome, new rebel. This is the podcast about podcasts. And do we have a theme this week? No, actually, we don't. I'm not going to play the song. No, I'm not playing it. Nope. All right, I'll play it.
It's theme week. It's theme week. It's theme week.
You know, usually I interview podcasters, but I do speak to people who have YouTube channels too.
Who's our guest today, Sherpa?
And our guest this week is a lady by the name of Heather Lehrman. And we talked about a lot of different topics this week. It really didn't stick to one topic, which is actually okay because she had a lot to talk about and I had a lot of fun speaking with her as well. She is an author. She's got her own YouTube channel and she's an actress too. And maybe depending on where you live, you may have even seen her. She says that she gets a lot of feedback from people who have seen her on TV. We will get to talking to her in just a few moments. But first, I have to remind you that this podcast is being brought to you by Audible, and you can get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at www.audibletrial.com/Sherpa. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, your Android, your Kindle, or your MP3 player, wherever you like to listen to books. So why don't we head on down to the listening room at the Sherpa Chalet, and we'll check out the little chat that I had with Heather Lehrman. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Too Many Podcasts. We are here in the conference room at the Sherpa Chalet. The lady that I am speaking to tonight, she is an author, an actor, a producer, a writer, a TV host of a YouTube show called Hangin' Out with Heather. And tonight we get to hang out with Heather, and we're going to be discussing her brand new book, which is called Bullied at the Dog Park. Say hello to Miss Heather Lehrman. Hey, Heather, how you doing?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am Heather Lehrman, and I reside in Long Island, New York. Any Long Islanders out there, hey. Can't miss the New York accent. And I have a special children's book out called Bullied at the Dog Park that was inspired by my very own Boston Terrier, Herbie. He's actually laying next to me right now. He never leaves my side. So when he was a puppy, back a few years back, I took him to a private little dog park and he was bullied. He was bullied over a flying disc. I could say Frisbee on a podcast, but in the book I can't. So it's a flying disc. Okay. But just so people know, a Frisbee was his favorite toy. When I threw it, he went after it and another dog attacked him over it. And that's how the inspiration of a children's book came about, because it just stuck with me telling everyone, because he was actually pretty hurt. He was in the vet overnight in an emergency. It was bad. So, it just stuck with me. And I guess just saying it over and over, yeah, he was bullied at the dog park. I was like, that's a perfect title. And I'm going to use his friends, which are other dogs that are similar to that breed. The Boston Terrier, it's not the technical term, but I call them smush face breeds, where their nose is a little smushed in, like pugs, French bulldogs, English bulldogs, Frenchies. So I ran a real group called the Long Island Smush Face Group, which was a meetup group for these dogs to play at a dog park. That's not where the incident happened, but I got the whole picture in my head one day to write this book called Bullied at the Dog Park, but the series name is Herbie and the Smushies. So the characters in my book are those dogs, the Boston, the Frenchies, the pug, and the bulldog. And they go on a journey because Herbie wants to know why he was bullied. So I'm in the book too because I'm his mommy. And I explain to him what a bully is. And he goes on a journey and he meets all these new friends, the Smushies. And each character relates to a bullying story that could definitely resonate with a young child. And I started to read the book to schools, and the teachers love it. The kids love the dog characters. It's just a different way of teaching kids about bullying. I mean, it's so in their face these days because it's such a big problem that I needed something fun and entertaining. And I know there's plenty of other people that do things like that for bullying, but no one has my dog Herbie and is as cute as him. And you could actually see him on the back cover, a real life photo of him on the back cover of my book. But the book, the message basically is to teach kids simple kindness and to never be a bully, to just be nice to everyone and never leave anyone out. And I just want them to learn that at a very young age. And it seems to really be resonating with these kids and teachers and moms. So I love that the message is getting across.
It's really great that you took an event that could have probably just been an aggravation, you know, of your dog getting hurt, and you turned it into a life lesson for children.
Yes. You know, it's funny because a lot of kids will say, dogs get bullied. And of course, the answer is always to them, yes, even dogs get bullied. But more importantly, they'll take one of the character storylines and say, that happened to me, or that happened to my friend, or I remember something like that happening last year in school. And they just open up. And that's the great part of the book. And yes, I turned a very bad situation into something positive. And I guess that's what we all have to do here, you know?
Sure.
It's what life's about.
Absolutely. We definitely have to learn to get along. And we were talking earlier, the presence of social media, sometimes while it encourages people to communicate, it does also foster an atmosphere of bullying as well.
Oh yeah. And I do feel sorry for this younger generation these days because they have it, I feel like they have it much worse because I know that we all have been bullied in some way or another, but I think they didn't have social media when I was in school. So they didn't have, the cyberbullying is so much worse because you just want to, everyone wants a lot of followers on their social media platforms. And unfortunately, that comes with the price of having what they call haters, the kids call them, and the celebrities call them. And it's funny because I learned this year that I did have somebody slandering me online. And I learned by going to an attorney that anyone could write anything they want about you on a public forum, and there's no legality against it. And I was like, wow, I could just say that somebody's this or that, and it doesn't matter. And they're like, all you could do is try to sue them for slander and spend all your money on suing them. But no, they have every right to write whatever they want on your Twitter, on your Facebook, on your Instagram. So I always caution people, you have to be very careful. And I don't know if you heard about this, but a few weeks ago, it just came out on the news that they want to take away the like factor to liking photos that you put up, I believe on like Instagram, because everyone's looking to see how many likes they have and they get depressed. These kids get highly depressed if they don't have a lot of likes. So they want to take it away altogether. And I remember a celebrity coming on saying, it's not the likes, it's the comments. So I don't think there should be likes or comments. I agree with both because it's not only bullying, it's these kids want to commit suicide because they didn't get enough likes. That's our society, and it's sad.
For something that's supposed to be things together puts so much anxiety on people where, they want approval for everything that they do. This, this instant gratification. Like you said, they want likes, they want followers, they want nothing but positive comments. And there are just people out there that can't do that.
Exactly. I mean, I have random people that'll write something and, basically I'll get some strange messages because they don't have to be your friend to write you a direct message or on Messenger on Facebook or direct message on Instagram. Anyone could write you. They don't have to be your friend. And I've gotten some crazy, creepy things and I just block, and then it's just block them from ever contacting you again. And people have to just do that. I mean, they have to just let it go and just block the person. And if they're your friend, of course, unfriend them and block them. And you got to report them. That's what I teach in the book too. You need to stand up. You need to stand up for a friend who might not be able to stand up for themselves against the bully. So, I tell people when I hear stories, you need to do something about it. And if you're not going to, you need to tell somebody that's going to help you. And that's just, it begins with these young kids, So that's what I'm trying to teach.
That definitely starts when we're young.
Oh yeah.
I know you said you wanted to do a little bit more with the book too.
Yes. So my dream and my passion for the last couple of years is turning my series, Herbie and the Smushies, into a cartoon series because everyone thinks it's a great concept. And if you look at the book, I have a website, Bullied at the Dog Park. That's the name of this book. It would be the pilot episode. I made a short film. I produced it. It's animated. It's a 2D cartoon. And it was actually entered into film festivals. And it just happened to win a bunch of awards in September, which I was thrilled. I actually got to see my 7-minute film that I put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and all my money into. Animation's really expensive. And they actually played it at a movie theater. So it was such an amazing experience seeing it up there because it was like my dream coming true. And if you go to my website, Bullied at the Dog Park, you'll not only see the book, which is a hard-covered, old-fashioned, hard-covered, glossy, colorful book, really hardcover where it stays on the shelf for years. People all go soft cover because it's much cheaper, but that expense I don't mind because that's what I wanted, a traditional children's book that you get to keep on the shelf. And I also, if you go on the website, you'll see a short teaser, which is just a short animated video of my film. It's just a little teaser, they call it, like a sizzle reel that basically you would send out to networks or production houses to let them know what your idea is about. So I'd love for people to go to the website and check it out because you could actually see the characters come off the pages alive into 2D animation characters.
It's funny as we're doing this interview, I can hear your dog adding a little commentary in the background.
He's snorting. Yes, he snores when he sleeps, and he just fell asleep, and he snores every night like a 250-pound truck driver. This is nothing. He usually, later, he'll be snoring his head off when we go to sleep. And I can't live without it. He's going to be 9 years old, January 31st, and I had him since he was 9 weeks. So he really is my baby boy. And when he was bullied, it was like my own child was bullied.
Yeah, we all get the same attachment to pets that we do as children. That same kind of unconditional love.
Exactly. Well, pets give a lot more of it, unfortunately, because they're animals. I mean, we all are, but you know what I mean.
So you actually had a background with dogs.
Yes. I owned a dog walking pet sitting franchise for 8 years. And that gave me endless amounts of storylines. So anyone listening that wants to pick up my cartoon series, I could write tons of episodes because I've seen it all. I've heard it all. I mean, that's my next book. And I can't call it the Dog Walking Diaries because that already exists, but I've been through some crazy stuff owning that kind of business. But I also learned a lot about dogs, and we talked about putting that on your other expert podcast. What's the name of it?
The Expert Factory.
Yeah, the Expert Factory. I'm going to talk about dogs, on how to choose the right pet sitter and things like that on your other podcast, because things are so important that people don't know. There's, certain foods that are so poisonous to dogs, and everyone just thinks chocolate because that's all we learned is, for many, many years. But that happens to be pretty down the list, believe it or not. So I want to talk about those things on your other podcast.
Sure.
But yes, dogs have been in my life. They're around me. They're always good. I love them. I love all animals. I just did goat yoga the other day, and it was the best day of my life. They had brought in like 5 goats, and they just walk around while we're doing a yoga class, and they come sit on your mat, and everyone's so happy. And I love animals. So
do the goats stay like very still while you're in your yoga positions? Is that how it works? Like if you're doing like a downward dog, and
sometimes they'll walk right under your downward dog. But the ones that were at the class I went to, which is very new to Long Island, by the way. I know they do this in LA probably a lot, like it's just normal, but it's pretty new here. And when I posted my photos on Facebook last week, everybody was like, oh my God, that's awesome. Where do you go? Blah, blah, blah. But it's a local farm that brings them in, and they're pretty domesticated, but they do urine and poop on your mat or your foot. They don't care. They didn't get me. I was so happy. But they're goats, but they're also so friendly, and you could pet them, and they put them on your back. I had a goat on my back. It felt like a massage walking on my back. And it was pretty awesome. I love anything to do with animals. I love horses. I love horseback riding. So I definitely am an animal person altogether.
that's fantastic that that there is a love for animals, because so many of them, they don't get the love that they deserve. And we're seeing, at the time that we're recording this, we're hearing about the wildfires in Australia, and we're seeing all those.
So sad.
Yeah, those the kangaroos and the koalas, and they're just been evicted from their homes because of all the brush fires.
I know. Not only that, but so many of them have passed away because of it. It's so sad.
Yeah, it was nice that the government, they said they hired people to fly over and just drop food supplies down for some of the animals.
Yeah. But I just hope I really hope it gets under control very, very soon, because it's really, getting huge, the fire. It's like going across the country. It's really, I know we have our own here in California, so my heart goes out to everywhere that has them, but it's sad because they're showing these koala bears burnt on TV, and no one wants to see that. It's so horrible.
It's a scary thing for both animals and humans alike.
Yes. Yeah, so many people lost their houses already.
I know you said you really don't get the chance to listen to a lot of podcasts because so many people that have their own podcast.
Yes. As you know, your name of your podcast, Too Many Podcasts. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone. But yes, I was telling you earlier, sometimes when I'm just working on the computer, I'll throw one on, but I basically like to laugh. And I've also done some stand-up comedy over the past couple of years. It was another thing on my bucket list. I took comedy classes, and I produced my own comedy show, and I've been in a few shows, and it was just actually to just become more of an improviser, because if you could get up on stage in front of people and try to get them to laugh, you could pretty much be in any situation. And you mentioned earlier that I'm an actor too, and I'm trying to, now that I sold my dog business, I'm trying to get more involved in acting, and the comedy is really going to help me with the auditions I'm going to go on this year, because a lot of I see a lot of audition submissions asking for you improving instead of just reading lines. And that's more of my forte. I'm more of an improviser than reading lines because it has to be authentic and come from yourself.
So what do you think is more intimidating, doing stand-up comedy or writing a book?
Stand-up comedy is the hardest thing you'll ever do, ever. Everyone's like, I would never, people, my husband's like, I would never in a million years get up on a stage ever. It's definitely one of the hardest things you'll do. But I always encourage people to try it because I never thought I was going to do that. But I have to be honest with you, the person who gave me the idea was a big commercial casting director. And he did a workshop. And at the end, people were like, how do I get in touch with you? What do you usually go for? Because he does nationwide commercials. And he said, to be honest with you, I go to comedy clubs to find actors. I'd rather have comedians than per se actors. So that gave me the idea because I remembered going to a local comedy club that's still around that I would go to all the time when I was younger. We all went to comedy clubs and then they just give you free tickets to get in and you just had to buy like the 2-drink minimum. But I always got free tickets for years and years and years. And I remember them having comedy college and I left that class and I looked it up right away, like on the train ride home, literally. And sure enough, they still had the comedy college and I signed up for the next class. And I made really close friends from it because it's a bonding that you go through with people that we're all practicing in front of each other for weeks. And then we have our first live show. And that's the scariest moment of your life is your first live show. And comedians always say it's that rush you're going after all the time. And it's true because you when you get up there, as soon as you're on an adrenaline rush. And as soon as you get your first laugh, it's just the biggest relief of your life. And then you just keep going. And every time I do it, it feels like an out of body experience. I don't even remember my set. And I don't even remember because I always ask my husband to come and videotape it so that I have clips too for my reels for acting. And I don't even realize that I did the whole set or that I missed something because you're on pure adrenaline. So it's kind of like a high. It's kind of like a drug addict that needs that's reaching for the same high over and over. And that's why comics do you notice how all the comedians are going back to stand up that have been in movies for years and they're all going back to stand up now? So they all want to go back to that because there's nothing like it.
Yeah, I guess because it's the immediate reaction, like you said. And that's what gives you the rush. Where with a movie, it's like you'll never really know, how to hit an audience until you sit in the theater yourself and then you're watching yourself and then you're judging it in a whole different way anyway. Yeah,
and you have no control. There's been actors that laugh because they'll go to a premiere of their own movie and they've been cut out. They don't even know that they were edited out. I think that happened to Kevin Hart. I think it was him. And he said, I'll never do that again until I see the movie first. He invited everyone to a premiere of a movie he was in and he got cut out. Obviously he wasn't a main role. I think it was, before he was big time, but it's true. Because I've worked on movie sets and you see what's being filmed and it's amazing seeing the end product, what they did not put in, the days and hours of shooting certain scenes. And you're like, wow, they cut that all out. It's amazing.
I think if that happened to me and I invited a whole bunch of people to the theater, I would just wait until the end of the movie and just say, wait, nobody leave. I just want to announce a sequel called The Cutting Room Floor on the star of it.
It happens all the time and you never know. They're not going to tell you if you were cut out of the movie. It just goes to editing. There's an Adam Sandler movie on Netflix that I was in. So that's where he came to Long Island to shoot. And he actually shot a lot in my own town. So I was considered featured background, but I was in it a lot because I had one of my favorite beautiful dress that you would wear to weddings. So basically the movie's called The Week Of with Chris Rock. And it's the week leading up to Adam Sandler's daughter marrying Chris Rock's son. So it's a comedy.
I saw it, actually.
Okay, so they purposely placed me to be seen in the movie when the wedding party kicks the door in and does their dance running in to the catering hall, the room. They placed, the director put me at the door, and you get perfect head to toe shot of me. So it's funny because I'm like, I got in a few shots, and then you'll see me like all over the wedding because you can't miss my dress. It's blue and sparkly. Everyone was calling me a princess and a mermaid. But it's funny because other people were cut out that were actually actors in it, And wow. I'm like, I got my shot in it. You just never know. And that's what I was kind of saying, because there were so many scenes that we shot for hours and hours and hours that they never put in the movie. So you just never know.
In future episodes of this show, I will be actually talking to a couple of people who make movies, and I'm sure they're going to have stories like that too, about people who ended up on the cutting room floor and people who didn't.
Yeah. And then it's the other way around. I mean, I've been in a dental commercial for like a year and a half that I had no idea that it was just one of these things where it was a dentist here on Long Island, and he wanted to do a commercial, but he's big time. Like, people will fly in from all over to get like all their teeth done, like a makeover kind of thing, where he had beautiful labs there and everything. And you could get like your whole mouth done in one day. You know what I mean? Like, okay, if you had the money. So it was just a submission on one of the acting websites that I'm on, and it just said local commercial in Long Island, just a few hours for $100. So I was like, so I submitted, and they called me like a minute later and like, okay, can you be there tomorrow at noon? And I was like, oh, I didn't know it was tomorrow, but okay. And this was like a year and a half ago. And I go there, and the director hands me my lines. I'm like, my lines? So it could go vice versa, the other way around totally, where I was the main feature with lines in this commercial, and it played on, first of all, it's been on our local news channel here. And that's part of my comedy act, that I'm on the dental commercial every hour on top of the hour, because that's their saying on this channel. But I'm also on other channels like the E! Network, TLC, because people Facebook message me from all over, and they're like, are you in a dental commercial? I'm like, yeah. And it's just me, and I'm talking about it. It's hilarious because it would be on this, like I said, this local news channel here, and it was on every hour because they repeat the news every hour.
Sure.
And it's a joke in my house that we're so sick of hearing my voice and seeing me on TV, but it's great for my acting reel.
We got to start small, just like everybody else does, right?
Yeah. But if I only knew, I literally was like, I don't even have lipstick on. You need to wear like, there's tricks in the trade, obviously. If you look at other whitening toothpaste commercials, now you'll all notice they wear red lipsticks. The ladies always wear red lipstick. That makes your teeth look whiter. Sometimes they'll put like Vaseline on your teeth to make them look really glossy. I didn't have any of that. It was like, can you just put I didn't have lipstick on. I thought it was just going to be background and get $100 and leave. I had no clue. So I had to use eyeshadow. That was the only thing I had in my bag, and put it on my lips to give it a little pigment to make my teeth look whiter. I had no idea.
Well, the road to stardom is paved with dental commercials.
I am definitely the dental. People definitely recognize me. They're like, I saw your commercial.
Okay, so now that we know you from the dental commercial, we have a portion of the podcast called Shameless Self-Promotion.
Shameless Self-Promotion.
And that's where you can let everybody know where they can get in touch with you. And, if you want to give the information on the book again.
Yes. So Hanging Out with Heather is a Facebook page. It's also a YouTube channel. You should definitely subscribe because you'll see some of my auditions. And I also do my own show called Hanging Out with Heather. So you could see some of my shows, some funny auditions that I've done. I think my dental commercial's on there too. but there's a bunch of things on my YouTube channel. It's free to subscribe. It's just Hanging Out with Heather. And the Facebook page, Hanging Out with Heather. And then I'm on Instagram, Heather Lehrman. That's Lehrman. And you could find my book on Amazon.com or on the website Bullied at the Dog Park. So it's on Amazon called Bullied at the Dog Park, or on the website Bullied at the Dog Park.
Okay. Well, first we'd like to thank your dog for offering his commentary. And she is a YouTube sensation, Heather Lehrman, and she is an author and a dental commercial star. Heather, thank you so much for coming down to the Sherpa Chalet.
Thank you so much, and I can't wait to hear it live. And I really appreciate you having me on the show. I love the name. Too Many Podcasts.
And now it's time for Sherpa Suggestions.
Since Heather's book was inspired by her dog, and she's such an animal lover, I figured that for this week's Sherpa Suggestions, I would offer a listing from a site called rover.com, and this is called the best podcasts for pet parents. So here they are. We have Dr. Dunbar's iWoof podcasts, Canine Nation, Creative Dog Training, The Dog Trainer, Quick and Dirty Tips, Working Like Dogs. And if you're a listener of This American Life, they have an episode from way back when called In Dog We Trust, which is a collection of essays about dogs and other household pets. You know, I'm a dog lover as well. I didn't know if any of you knew that. As a matter of fact, I get paid from this podcast in sausages. Very special thanks to the lovely Heather Lehrman. And if you've got kids, make sure you check out her book, Bullied at the Dog Park. I'm sure it'll be a big seller, and hopefully there'll be more big things happening with the book and the characters. Hey, you got your mouse ears? Because you're going to need them for next week. We will be having a guest next week whose name is Bryce, and he hosts the Nocturnal Disney podcast. And we'll be talking about a whole bunch of things Disney, and we had a lot of fun talking. We always have fun in the Sherpa Chalet. That's what it's all about, right? And we hope that you're having fun listening to it. Thank you very much for coming back week after week for our social media. Sherpalution is the word. You know that. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Just look for @Sherpalution. And that's our website too, www.sherpalution.com. You can see listings of all the episodes that we've had, listings of all the Sherpa sheets. And why would you want to read those? Because maybe if I did a topic that you were interested in way back when, and I recommended some podcasts and you forgot, you can just reference them right there. Also, if you look at the menu, there's a page where you can contact me. Type in a message, let me know what you think of the website, let me know what you're thinking of the shows. Or you could just email me at jimthepodcastsherpa@gmail.com. I'm really anxious to hear what you guys are thinking about the show. I hope you guys are having fun and that you're spreading the word. And don't forget that this podcast is available on all sorts of platforms. We are getting punchy. We're available on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Anchor. This one's on Pandora. Where else are we? iHeartRadio. All sorts of those places. And don't forget the debut of our other podcast, The Expert Factory. And if you'd like to be an expert on the show, again, you can email me through the website or just email me at jimthepodcastsherpa@gmail.com. Let me know what you do. We'd like to present skills to people, to, little bit of inside information. What can you do to make things better? We've got a couple of episodes lined up, and I'm really looking to put out some more. It's going to be kind of a mini-series podcast. So we'll see what kind of information we can get out to you, and hopefully it'll be something that you'll like and it'll make an expert out of you. Until next time, thank you very much for coming down, and don't forget your mouse ears next week. Bye, Musketeers! Well, that's horrible. Goodbye, Musketeers. Yeah, that's a little bit better. See you next time, Mr. Bruce. Oh, take us out of here. Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to Too Many Podcasts. Please disperse. You can go home now. I said you can go home now. Viva la Sherpalution. Viva la Sherpalution. Yeah, I'll come back now, you hear?